What you know, Alibis? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's December 4th. I have a doctor's appointment today at 2:15, so that was going to cut into when I normally release that afternoon update. So I wanted to go ahead and cover Anna's boyfriend, William Fastow's testimony. He's been on the stand all morning. And also, I have posted the voicemail that Brian sent to William on January 4th after he filed that missing person report on the YouTube channel with subtitles, and I enhanced the audio, so you can go check that out. So up first, William Fastow, who was the boyfriend of Anna Walshe. In the beginning, he was referred by a friend to help Brian and Anna purchase that townhouse in D.C. She closed on that property in March of 22, and he had met Anna a couple of times previously to looking at properties. He did speak to Brian a few times on teleconference just to discuss the property. After the sale, they were immediately in contact, meaning him and Anna. They quickly became close friends, confidants, and it wasn't long after that they started an intimate relationship. That started just a few weeks after Anna moved to D.C. Mr. Fastow was separated at the time, but his divorce wasn't final, and he has children of his own. When they would get together, they would go to dinner or go to bars. She would go to his work functions. They would go sailing on his boat, go to the movies, and she went to the yoga classes that he hosted. He said Anna was very focused on staying in shape to get her figure back after the birth of her 3 kids. She had a home gym there in D.C. that she would use. He said they would get together 2 to 3 times a week, and then on the weekends that she was there in D.C. Once the relationship became intimate, they would text, they would message on Instagram, and they would call each other. Anna only had one cell phone to his knowledge. Anna was a frequent social media poster, especially on Instagram, and she also had a Facebook account. He said he would comment on her posts using his regular name. He never stayed overnight at her townhouse, but he would go visit. However, she would stay overnight with him at his place. Anna had bought everything the kids would need if they were to move to D.C., but he never met her boys. Brian's home confinement was in place because he was the primary caregiver and couldn't leave Massachusetts. Anna was deeply disappointed she couldn't be the mom her kids deserved. Brian and the kids not being able to be in D.C. was a point of contention for her. He did tell people about his relationship with Anna, and they would socialize with his friends, but not hers. They did talk about telling Brian about their relationship. Anna said she wanted Brian to hear it from her. She thought it would be a strike against her integrity if he found out in a different way. Their relationship got more serious in early to midsummer around July. Anna traveled to Massachusetts for what they thought would be Brian's sentencing, and the expectation was Brian and the kids would come back to D.C. if he got a favorable sentence, but the sentencing was delayed. In fact, he wasn't sentenced until early last year in 2024. He said they would spend holidays together like Thanksgiving 2022 there in Dublin, Ireland. They left on the 23rd or 24th of November for that trip, and they flew together. They were in Ireland until the 27th of November, and then Anna went to Serbia after that to see her mom. The two did have plans for Christmas Eve. Anna drove to Annapolis to have dinner with William and his friends. After dinner, they went to his place in D.C. and she spent the night with him. Christmas morning, it had snowed the night before, so her flight was either delayed or canceled. And Anna left because William's kids were coming to go on vacation with him. Anna ended up driving to Massachusetts. When Anna couldn't be in Cohasset on Christmas Eve, he said Brian and Anna had an argument and there were points of contention. He said their biggest stress as far as Brian and Anna was Brian's inability to resolve that federal case because it kept her kids from moving to D.C. He said one evening Anna was looking through her credit card statement and found charges Brian had made for sports memorabilia, and that was another argument they had. They were making plans to celebrate New Year's on the 4th of January and go to New York City. He thought he needed to go back to work and didn't want to commit to a trip before he knew what work would entail. Now, over the holidays, he was in Idaho with his sons, and he said he and Anna talked through text and Instagram. He did give those texts between the two of them to the Commonwealth. They hand him the 43 pages of text messages he gave to law enforcement between him and Anna, and they also texted photos to each other. There's a photo of a toothbrush she gave him that says Cohasset Dental. The text messages discuss intimacy, their trip to Dublin. There was a photo from Anna with her sons, and she also sent a picture of something one of her kids made her. He planned to return from Idaho back to D.C. on January 3rd. He got there between midnight and 2 a.m. on January 4th. They had planned to celebrate New Year's. They were going to have dinner on the 4th and discuss their 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year plans. They had previously talked numerous times about what a life together would look like in merging two families. William told Anna she needed to figure out how she wanted things to be with Brian and what her life would look like before she made any decisions. His last contact with Anna was her sending him a Happy New Year's text around midnight. He did respond. The next day, he sent her a photo of him showing his kids how to ski, also a waving hand emoji, and then later a question mark, and none of those were answered. He tried to call her January 2nd a couple of times, and it went to voicemail. He also tried calling from a landline, thinking maybe she had blocked his number. But he was concerned he hadn't heard from her. Moving back, after he sold the townhouse to Brian and Anna, he said he may have had a call or two with Brian discussing the townhouse. But on January 4th, Brian called him. He didn't answer and sent it to voicemail because he said, I was in a relationship with Anna and he hadn't heard from her in several days. So he thought maybe Brian found out and was calling to confront him. Brian called a few hours later. He also sent that to voicemail, but he called back. Brian said Anna had been missing since New Year's Day. He told William he could go check on the house in D.C. to see if she was there, and William did. Brian gave him the garage code. He said her car wasn't there, and she had a Volkswagen, which, just a reminder, yesterday we talked about how they found a pair of Volkswagen keys in one of those trash bags. After going to the house, he called Brian, and there was no sign that she had been home. After going to the house, he called Brian back and told him there was no sign Anna had been home. He did go back to the house later that evening in the hopes she had shown up. They show a photo of a Gucci pendant necklace that Anna wore frequently. They also show a Cartier watch, which was her primary timepiece, and also her engagement ring. On Cross, you met Anna in late winter or early spring 2022, and you were introduced through someone named Jim Mutlew because she was looking for a property in D.C., and you assisted her in finding that townhouse. You also FaceTimed with Brian so he could see the property as well. But you and Anna quickly became confidants. What would you talk about? He said they were both vulnerable, and he was about to go through a divorce, and she had substantial family legal troubles. He said he and his wife had been separated since December of 2021, and together they have 2 young sons. Anna described that argument about the charges on the credit card. The defense asked, did you ever argue with your wife about finances? Yes. There was another argument on Christmas Day between Brian and Anna because she was delayed coming home on Christmas Day. He said Brian and Anna have 3 sons, and her flights being canceled upset Brian. The property she bought for the family was sold for $1.3 million, and she was paying on a mortgage. It was a 4-story townhouse with 4 rooms, 1 for each of the 3 boys, and then the master bedroom for Brian and Anna. They asked about his text messages on Instagram. On Facebook, there were no romantics posted, but he said he would comment on things in a general sense, but nothing flirtatious. She did reference him in one Instagram post about that yoga class that he hosted, and she thanked him. He never posted any photos of the 2 of them on his own Instagram. He said their relationship went to romantic very quickly, and they were intimate shortly after she moved to D.C. In spring of 2022 through New Year's 2022, Anna never told you Brian was suspicious. He said there was one episode where Brian called while they were out to dinner and didn't answer. Anna called Brian back, and he said one of his kids got his phone and was the one that called. But she never directly told him Brian was suspicious of their affair. He also never told their friend Jim Mutlu, who introduced them, about their affair, and he doesn't think Anna did either. He said he did have conversations with Jim after Anna's disappearance, and then he knew about the relationship, but he doesn't think he told him about it before. The defense says you and Anna had conversations about your future going into Christmas holiday. They point out in his grand jury testimony you were asked if there was a plan to tell Brian, and you said no. He reiterates there was no plan at Christmas for Anna to tell Brian about their relationship. As far as communicating, they may have communicated on Facebook Messenger, but he really doesn't remember, and he didn't turn anything over to the Commonwealth for that. Anna would say she never wanted Brian to find out about the affair inadvertently. She wanted to be the one to tell him, but there was no plan that he knew of for her to tell him over the holidays. He did go to a work event with Anna, and he was invited by her. In summer of 2022, the hope was Brian wouldn't have to go to jail, and the plan obviously was for the whole family, including Mama, to relocate to D.C. He said Anna was the breadwinner, and her Monday through Friday hours were probably 9 to 5 unless there was a conference or something to do with her management duties. Anna told him it would devastate her if Brian found out about the affair. They never had concrete conversations about being together or a time frame when that might happen. The defense says you weren't in a position to openly start a relationship with another person. He said his divorce wasn't finalized. Defense says you said your son would be devastated if you brought another woman around, and he said yes. The witness said that his son said he couldn't imagine him with someone else. And of course, like all kids, he wanted his parents to reconcile, so to introduce him to someone, it would crush him. This conversation was over Christmas, and the defense points out that he had no plans to openly date Anna with his sons. The defense says at the time you were talking about your relationships, you knew it was possible Anna would choose to stay with Brian. Did Anna always speak about Brian in a positive light and say she cared for him deeply? And she wanted the world to see him in the light she saw him, and he said very much so. Did the police ask if you had any information that Brian discovered the affair? And he said he did talk to police about that. The defense says you don't remember if you sent intimate messages to her. He said he remembers he deleted messages from Instagram and text messages over the term of their relationship because he said he found it embarrassing and he didn't want to look at it. So that's where it ended for him. I have to say, he came across very credible, and I'm not sure the jury is going to hold this affair against him versus just the photos of the evidence that they saw in the trash bags yesterday. He seemed very even-toned, and you could tell he cared for Anna. Brian just looked at him, and I really didn't see any huge emotion either way. I have a doctor's appointment at 2:15 today, so it's possible the next episode will just cover the rest of the morning session as well as the afternoon, depending on how long my notes are. I'm just going to be fluid about it. Come watch live with us. We are on YouTube and have a great group in there. If you can't watch, look for those updates later, but that's it for now. Hope you guys have a good rest of your afternoon, and we will see you soon.